I'm ready. I can go ahead now.
Stop this evangelism. They will come with love and life.
All right. Good evening, morning, afternoon, everyone. I greet you in the name of the Lady Mary. I'm so honored to be able to speak to you today. We're going to be talking about the economic liberation argument, the business case for the structuring of Nigeria along a regional system of government. The Yoruba Nation Twitter handle will be tweeting my slides as I speak so that you can actually follow me real time. And I'm sure some of the moderators that have access to the slides can also maybe put on DPs and all of that because I understand that numbers are really tedious and boring. Only myself and Olu gets worked up about numbers here, but some people will just you say this number and that number and they get a bit lost. So if you want, you can get yourself a pen and paper. I promise it's not going to be boring. Or you can just open a notepad on your iPhone or something, and then you can just take some numbers down because those numbers will maybe by tomorrow when you look at it again, you get even more angry or upset or something. So that's just it. Let's just dive into it, right? When I was going to speak on this topic, I thought to myself the best way to address this was to present it like an economic paper, right? Like a term paper. So I did just that. But I would be speaking through my slides and I'll be letting I'll try and see what the paper says, but I'll try and explain it in the language I understand. So let's just talk about Nigeria. We already know that Nigeria is the largest black nation on earth, right? 1 out of every 4 Africans is Nigerian, and 1 out of every 5 person of African origin is Nigeria. So in case you don't understand the magnitude that Nigeria plays or the Nigerian contraction plays in the destiny of the black man, I think that just probably explains it better. And this contraction actually holds about 206 million people as of 2020. It's a mammoth crowd. It's actually 2.64% of the world's population. So you imagine that out of 100%, you own 2.64%, you'd probably be a big player in the world, right? But Nigeria is plagued by a stifled economy, and Nigeria is at risk of becoming a failed state. I mean, the term between a failed state and a failing state, we're failing, but we're not yet failed because we still have 2 more countries that are worse than us. So that's just the economic, trying to justify the difference in any case. But yes, Nigeria is plagued by a stifled economy. Everybody knows that. Nigeria is at the risk of becoming a failed state, and we have problems with kidnapping and insecurity is rife, killings and deaths. I mean, the value of Nigerian human life is actually it's so strange, because I think there was a time in Nigeria when if 10 people died, there would be lowering of flags and national mourning. But I think as of today, maybe 70 people have gone due to insecurity, and there's not much talk about it anymore. I don't even think it makes national headlines. In fact, after people were killed mercilessly yesterday and today and kidnapped, the House of Assembly spent the whole of yesterday deliberating about donkeys. They wanted to start doing donkey ranching. Somebody thought it was a good idea in a country like Nigeria that we have not finished solving the cattle problem, and somebody says, okay, it's time for us to start, donkey problem. So yeah, but at the present trajectory, Nigeria will double the population to 400 million by 2050, and this is what worries everybody else. You see, the nonsense we are doing does not worry them now. In as much as we keep growing at an exponential rate, that other countries are now starting to say, hey God, how many more Nigerians are going to apply to come to my country, to come and work, to come and live? Like, it's no longer the rate at which we are growing. I mean, Nigerians are everywhere in the world. I mean, Nigerians apply for work visas for Thailand, for Singapore, for countries that, I don't know, Bangladesh, India. Nigerians are hustling there because we're just a community of, the country itself is filled. So everybody just looking for a way out. And that's just like a way of synopsis. But now let's talk about macroeconomic indicators. In terms of poverty, Nigeria has 86 million people living in extreme poverty. In case you don't understand extreme poverty, I mean abject poverty, absolute poverty. 50% of the population of Nigeria, right, lives on less than 1,000 naira a day. 1,000 naira a day. Isn't that amazing? 1,000 naira, 50%. A state like Zamfara and Yobe State, for instance, they have 80 to 90% of the population living below the poverty line. 80 to 90% of the population living below the poverty line. And as a matter of fact, that's like saying that you can see and touch and count the families that have money and the rest are poor. And when I mean poor, I mean they are not poor that they are struggling, they are in abject poverty, right? In terms of education, Nigeria has 10 million children out of schools. 2.8 million of those children are in 3 states: Borno State, Yoruba State, and Adamawa State. I mean, the Boko Haram crisis doesn't help. It destroyed 497 classrooms. 802 schools have been closed in the north due to insurgency. So the problem that we are complaining about is only getting worse. It's only getting worse, and only 10% of girls aged between 6 to 18 in the north west of Nigeria can read and write. So 1 in every 10 girls can read and write, right? And this kind of shameful statistic, we stand along countries like Mali and Pakistan and South Sudan. Like we don't glorify ourselves in terms of education with good countries. The kind of countries that you find Nigeria's economic education parameters being discussed is around shameful countries. In terms of unemployment, our unemployed population is 23 million. But you see, when I tell people that we have 23 million unemployed people, maybe because you are working, or maybe because you have employment, you think, well, God will go better, like God will help us. So I'm now going to use that 23 million population and explain it in context of country's population. So Nigeria has more unemployed people than the entire nation of Syria, the entire nation of Haiti, the entire nation of, in fact, we are just 10 million more, and we will have more unemployed people than the nation of Mozambique. We have more unemployed people in Nigeria. We have more unemployed people, like people that have gone to school, gotten a certificate, graduated. We have more unemployed people in Nigeria than the entire population of Senegal. Nigeria has, in fact, if you look at Africa as a whole, our unemployed population is about 18 out of 58 countries in Africa. I didn't say the actual population, I just said the unemployed population, those that have the means for employment, want to work but can't find jobs. There are more than 18 out of 58 countries in Africa. Like, if you look at it, if you add the countries like Namibia, Gambia, Botswana, Gabon, Lesotho, Equatorial Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Mauritius, and Seychelles, if you put their entire population together, Nigeria has more unemployed people than those countries put together. Just unemployed people. Now, let's talk about, in comparison to some of the foreign worlds, like a country like Portugal, the population is 10 million. Nigeria's unemployed population is 23 million. A country like Belgium, population is 10 million. Nigeria's unemployed population, that's people unable to find work. I'm not talking about more children, I'm not talking about aged or people above 65. I'm just saying the unemployed population, people unable to find work, more than Belgium, 10 million. Holland, 17 million, Nigeria unemployed 23 million, Czech Republic 10 million, Croatia 4 million. Nigeria's unemployed population is 5 times the size of Croatia. In case you don't know, Croatia was in 2 World Cups ago. Last World Cup they were in the finals. And we have more unemployed people in this country than that. Out of 20, if you look at our unemployed population, we actually represent 21 out of 48 EU countries. Like, if you add all the unemployed people together and you put them side by side with their European counterparts, so you can see that it's not strange that everybody's running away. If the 23 unemployed people, 23 million unemployed population got into Europe today, will consume the population for man, women, children, old and young, of 21 out of the 48 countries in the EU. So it's a problem. In terms of miserable or misery index, right? It's just gotten worse. Under Obasanjo, it was 18.3. Under Yar'Adua, it was 26.9. Under GJ, it was 27.5. So just, you can see the growth. 18.3, 26.9, 27.5. So it's like single-digit growth, right? Do you want to know what it is today? It's 62.2. It's 62.2. So from GAJ 27.5, our misery index today is 62.2. We have successfully, there's this social media post we always see, right, where they show children in a field running a marathon, and the first child gets the baton, runs his race, give it to another child, the child runs the race, and then they give it to a child, and the child just goes the opposite direction, running so fast, and the big child chasing him, that he should stop. That's exactly what we've done with our economies. And we've handed the baton over to someone that successfully run us backward. and he's doing it, and everybody is just, I mean, a lot of people are defending him, and that's what is wrong. But more importantly, a lot of people, they don't just understand, they just feel more miserable. But now I'm trying to explain to you that you are not just feeling more miserable, it's actually happening. Nigerians are 3 times more miserable under Buhari than they were under OBJ. 3 times more miserable. Now, let's look at some other things. Now, a lot of people say, was Nigeria always this bad? You know, whenever you talk to them, the One Nation people, they'll say, well, you know, we're a poor country, we're colonized for 60 years, you know, it's not easy. I mean, we are still a young democracy, you know, so Nigeria is still, well, I believe, maybe before I die, it will be better, you get. Like, I'm not saying that it's not bad, but I agree that, you know, if you just give it time, like, by the time Tinubu is born, like 8 years, maybe by that time, dollar will still be like, maybe like 1,000 or something. So please just have patience. It's our turn to chop, and we need to, as in, we're about to chop now. So you cannot be talking about this restructuring thing. Now, yes, people are dying. It's possible that there might not even be a Yoruba states when the actual time for the election comes around. But you know what? We have to keep quiet. So those people, let me just tell you about the dreams of our founding fathers, because in our anthem it says the sweat of our heroes' passion not be in vain, right? Now let me tell you about what your founding fathers did for you, the foundation they laid for you, the one your grandfathers and your great grandfathers put for you, right? In 1950s, right, Nigeria contributed 49% of the palm kernel production in the world. Nigeria produced 470 metric tons of palm kernel, and the world produced 850. So in total, including our production, 850. In terms of palm oil, Nigeria produced 150,000 metric tons of palm oil. The world, 42% of the world's production. In cocoa beans, we produced 22% of the world's 519 metric ton production. In terms of rubber, we were contributing 24% of the world's rubber production. I don't think you understand. We produced 13,409 long tons of rubber, and the world, and in total, 55,250 metric tons of long tons was produced in the world. So we were contributing 24% of the world's rubber production. That's what your founding fathers did, without iPhone, by the way. That's what your founding fathers did for you, because they knew they had to sweat, they knew they had to industrialize the nation, they knew that they were running a race against a wicked colonial people, yes, but they still worked. In terms of groundnut, we had 22% of the world's production. So we were not a poor country. But now let me tell you how we've successfully driven the nation backward. In 1959, our government expenditure, which is government budget, was £98.9 million. In 2020, our government expenditure is $10.3 billion, right? Now, billion naira. Now, let's convert that in terms of GDP growth rate. In 1959, the economy was growing at 8.4%. Can anybody just tell me what the economy is growing at in 2020? It's actually a negative. But let's just say for the purpose of this conversation, 0.1%. Can you compare 0.1% to 8.4%? That means even because when we talk about our great grandfathers that were colonized, that were flogged, that were forced to work in sugar markets, we think that they were not smart, but they handed you an economy that was growing at 8.4%. What have you done in the last 6 years to that economy they gave you? You tanked it. And you are now growing that economy at 0.1%, which means that by the time your kids will be born and your grandkids will be born, you'll be handing them an economy that might be even in minus. Now, in terms of capital expenditure, our forefathers were spending 58% of their budget to build roads, bridges, infrastructure, schools. That was their plan. Education, 58%. Do you know what the current budget percentage of capital expenditure is? It's 24%. It's 24%. So we've spent a whole decade driving. In terms of recurrent expenditure, which is what we talk about salaries and all that, our founding fathers in 1959 were spending 24% of their budget on recurrent expenditure, which is salaries and wages for themselves and the civil service and all that. Do you know what the expenditure is today? It's 47%. So we have spent 60 years driving the country high speed backwards. Because they knew that infrastructure was the way to go to develop the nation. They committed 58% of their expenditure on that infrastructure. You are only committing 24%. Yes,
Sorry, Dapo. Can I quickly time in 1 minute on that note that you are raising?
Please.
on that cost of governance that you are discussing. So there's a template. I don't know if loan processors are in this room. So there's a template by which loans are approved, you know. So the concept is that whatever your expenses is, as long as it's more than or up to 40 to 50% of your income, that means you're not viable. So no country is going to, no bank would kind of, give you a credit. That's the concept of loan processing, risk management, loan processing. So with the current 40% as just cost of governance, Nigeria is not viable, people. Nigeria is not viable. If 40% of our income is going to just our salaries and wages, then the numbers can never add up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you might say that, but they only spent £57 million on infrastructure, and then we were spending 2.4 billion naira. So maybe the country is on the right track. I mean, we're spending more than our forefathers. What you need to account for is that currency valuation, and that's the beauty of economics, is measured evenly across every single time zone. So if you're in 2020 and you're working with the data for 1959, you can actually get the value of that data in today's economy. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to explain to you what $57 million is in today's economy. And I want you to remember, before I start this part, that Nigeria's government budget for this year is 10.3 billion naira. Just keep that 10 billion trillion, 10.3 trillion in your head. Now, what do you call it? The inflation rate in the United Kingdom between 1959 and today is 1,844.36%, which means that the 57 million pounds that your founding fathers spent on capital expenditure is equivalent of 105 billion pounds. And that 105 billion pounds, if you convert it and use, we all know what pounds to naira is, but if we just use the base rate of 500 as pounds, the founding fathers spent 52 trillion on infrastructure. And then our today, we were spending 2.4 trillion on infrastructure. So we've spent, I don't know how else to say, but we spent the better part of 60 years just destroying their legacy. Just running, and that is why, to them, I'm sure by the time we meet our ancestors, like by the time we sit down, they will ask us some questions that how did you people become poor? They will ask us that how did you have a country that had one of the highest rates of uneducated people in the world? Please, can you explain it to us? Because what we left you, what we died for at independence was a country with free education in the Southwest. What do you mean you people were having exchange rates at this amount, that amount? What we left with you, we didn't have computers. But with the little we had, this is what we left you. We left you a thriving economy. We left you exchange rate that was favorable balance of trade. We were controlling 24% of the world's rubber production. As in terms of cocoa, we're controlling 22%. We're controlling 42% of the world's palm oil production. That means we had equal representation in manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, of lotions, of cream, of soap. What did you people do with that head start we gave you? You just spent 60 years letting the worst of us lead us into absolute and abject poverty. Now, I'm going to start by telling you about the paradox of many failures. And in this instance, I'll be comparing IGRs of states and the populations of states, so that and the population of states and regions, so that you can understand that is it all of us that are failing, or is it some of us that are failing? And if some of us are failing, is it possible for us to say, okay, you know what, you want to grow at 1%, I want to grow at 8%. Can you be growing your economy at 1% while I am growing my economy at 8%? Because if I'm going to grow my economy at 8%, I'm going to have higher taxes, which means that my people are going to have higher expectations in terms of infrastructure for me, which means that when I award contracts, I'm going to need to do things that are better. But if you have a people that are okay with being this way, can we separate? We're not saying that we hate you. We're not saying that you can't come visit us. We're just saying that going forward, let us take charge of our destinies so that the future, 3 generations from now, of a Nigerian child will not be born into slavery. Because that is where we are headed. Now, let's look at the Southwest, the first of paradox of many failures. The Southwest has a population of 37 million, and the IGR of the Southwest is 562 billion. The North, the entire North, has a population of 105 million. Their IGR is 394 billion. Paradox of many failures. In the North, the population is 105 million. In the South, the population is 88 million. In terms of IGL, the North contributes 30%, South contributes 70%. The number is 394 billion to 929 billion. Paradox of many failures. In terms of federal allocation, this is what I need you to understand about federal allocation and IGL. Federal allocation is the money you take from your president. It's the money you take from FEC. It's the money you take from AMAFAP. It's what we all call in the media as going to Abuja to beg for money. IGL is what you produce in your states. It's a combination of your taxes, your MDAs, your local economy, basically, your state economy. Now, Jigawa State has an IGL of 8 billion. They've made 8 billion in their states. Good job. Ondo State made an IGL of 24 billion. That's 3 times the value of Jigawa. Now, we're going to go back to say, what did Big Daddy give you? Federal government gave Ondo State a reward of 46 billion. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. But they gave Jigawa a reward of 56 billion. So 10 billion more for performing 3 times less than you. Paradox of many failures. Bauchi State and Sokoto State, they have a combined population of 11 million. Bauchi State generated 24 billion. Oyo State has a population of 7.8 billion. The combined Bauchi State and Sokoto State, Bauchi State and Sokoto State combined generated an IGL of 24 billion. Oyo State has a population of 7.8 billion, which is about 4 billion less than 2 of them combined, right? And generated an IGL of 38 billion. So almost, 14 billion more. But guess what? The federal government gave those 2 states that generated 24 billion 103 billion, and then gave Oyo State 54 billion. Paradox of many failures. It just doesn't make sense. Monkey cannot be walking and baboon will be chopping. It doesn't make anybody productive. As a matter of fact, why will I tax my citizens? Don't you understand? Why is the Oyo man paying so much in taxes? He's doing this, Makinde is raising the tax of his state. Why? When the people no matter how hard it works, somebody is just going to take majority of the federal money. Let's talk about Kaduna and Kano. Kaduna and Kano, people like to talk about it like the pride of the North. So I always like to use them in all my explanations. Kaduna and Kano Kaduna State has a population of 8 million and generated an IGR of 51 billion. Lagos State, ministries, development, parastatals and agencies. That's not the taxes from Lagos, please. Ministries, departments and agencies are things like LASA, those people that issue you licenses for advertisements, those people that issue you permits to plant trees. They generated an IGR combined of 54 billion. Kaduna State, the whole state, was 51 billion. Kano State, with a population of 15 million, generated 31 billion in IGR. Ogun State, with a population of 5 million, Ogun State taxes, not the IGL, just taxes. That's the taxes minus the MDAs was 32 billion. Paradox of many failures. How can a state with 5 million people generate more taxes than a state with 15 million people? Let's compare South Africa and Nigeria for a moment. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we're somewhat like a competitory party. South Africa is usually considered a noisy neighbor to Nigeria. Everything we do, we rebase our economy. They try to rebase their economy. They don't like us, even though they like us. I mean, they respect us, but they don't like us. We respect them, So we understand that a lot of Nigerians go to South Africa and thrive. We understand a lot of Nigerians go to South Africa and do business. It's just like they too, they come to our market to do business, right? So let us talk about South Africa's budget for police and South Africa's budget for healthcare. South Africa's budget for police is, South Africa has a population of 59 million. Their budget for police is 106 billion rand. In Naira, that is 2.9 trillion Naira. Nigeria, with a population of 200 million, has a budget for police of 409 billion. Or to put it in simple English for you, South Africa's budget for police is 7 times the budget of Nigeria for police, despite the fact that South Africa has 59 million in population and Nigeria has 200 million in population. Or let me explain it further for you to say that South Africa budget for policing per person in their country is 57,000, and Nigeria's budget for police per person is 2,045 naira. That is why your policemen will continue to kill you, because the provision to take care of you is 2,000. Let's talk about healthcare. South Africa has a population of 59 million. Their budget for healthcare is 230 billion rand. In terms of conversion of that to naira, is 6.412 trillion naira. Now, Nigeria has a population of 200 million. Our budget for healthcare is 427 billion. South Africa has an healthcare provision 15 times the number of Nigeria, despite having a lesser population than us. As a matter of fact, their provision per individual in South Africa for healthcare is 123,000, while the Nigeria's provision per individual for healthcare is 2,135 naira, or the cost of anti-malaria drug. Paradox of many failures. So, when we talk about infrastructure stagnation in Nigeria, this is something that I know that we don't, how do I explain it to you? We don't just know how bad infrastructure in Nigeria is because people think that they can drive. I know one guy will tell you that I drove from my house, I went to Lekki, I went to Ikeja, there was no protest, people were going about their business peacefully. Those that want to destroy the economy of Lagos, they don't know what they are talking about, right?
Leave Prince.
Because in their mind, Nigeria is working in terms of infrastructure. Their eyes have not been open to what is available in the outside world. So now I'm going to explain to you in Africa. You know, one problem about my presentation today is that I would try as much as possible to not use countries like Portugal, France, Netherlands, UK, US. I would just use your local neighbors so that the shame can be localized. I don't want us to embarrass ourselves by trying to compare ourselves with some smaller nations outside, maybe the Asian tigers and all of that, like Peter Obi. I will just use in your own Africa, right? I'm going to be comparing Nigeria's infrastructure with Ethiopia and South Africa. Now, Ethiopia has a road network of 138,000 plus kilometer. Nigeria is 195. South Africa has a road network of 747,000. Now, in terms of tarred road, in 2002, Ethiopia had a tarred road of 33,297 kilometers of tarred road in 2002. But they knew that this was a big problem for them. So they set up an infrastructure road plan, right? And they took a $50 billion loan and they invested all of it on their roads. $50 billion. But as of 2009, just 7 years later, they have 144,391 kilometer of tarred road. Do you want to know what Nigeria's data is? 144,000, Ethiopia, tarred road. Nigeria has a combined tarred road of 60,000. South Africa has a combined tarred road of 267,000. As a matter of fact, the local governments in South Africa have more tarred road than the entire country of Nigeria. The municipal tarred road in South Africa is 66,000. Nigeria's tarred road is 60,000. Ethiopia's third road is 144,000. So South Africa has 4 times the third road of Nigeria. Ethiopia has about 2 point something times the third road of Nigeria. In terms of rail track, right? Rail track, all these people that will bamboozle us with useless contracts and build infrastructure lines and say they are industrializing Nigeria, and we should be thankful because a state governor went to Abuja and he went back to the state with the track and he took pictures that we don't know what Buhari has done for us. Rail tracks in Ethiopia, 2,185. Rail tracks in Nigeria, something 180 something. It's not correct here. 4,200, and in South Africa it is 21,000. Electric rail track. Ethiopia has 1,401 kilometers. Nigeria has 186. South Africa has 8,200. So South Africa has 41 times electric rail tracks than we have in Nigeria. In terms of infrastructure projects, and this is something that hurts me because as a procurement professional, I know how procurement fraud has injured our people. How governors take glory in signing stupid contracts because of a lot of cronies have been satisfied, a lot of powers are unsatisfied. I'm going to be giving you an example between Ethiopia and Nigeria on a regular rail project, right? And I'm going to explain to you that what makes this example so good is that it was constructed by the same company in the 2 countries. So essentially, a company went to Nigeria, bidded for a job, got paid for it. They went to Ethiopia, they bidded for a job, got paid for it. Now, I want you to connect the dots for me because it doesn't make sense to me. The project was done in Ethiopia between 2011 and 2018. It's called the Addis Ababa Djibouti Railway. In Nigeria, in Lagos, we have a railway called the Lagos Rail Mass Transit. It's being constructed by CCECC. So both countries use CCECC. Ethiopia achieved their own in 7 years. Nigeria's projected completion time is 2022. So we're looking at the very minimum 18 years because we started in 2004. The kilometer for Ethiopia's own is 759 kilometers. The kilometers for Lagos' own is 57 kilometers. And the 57 kilometer, we have been building it for 18 years. Ethiopia finished their own in 7 years. Do you understand? 759, 7 years, 57, 18 years. In terms of the cost of the project, the 759 kilometer rail project in Ethiopia cost $4.5 billion. In Nigeria, it cost us $1.4 billion. But in terms of the cost per kilometer of road, Ethiopia landed their cost per kilometer at 5,928,853. Do you want to know how much Nigeria spent to build the same per kilometer? It's 24,561,403. That's to tell you that for every... So the question I have is it that Ethiopian people know how to negotiate more than Nigerians? Or Ethiopian people don't have corruption in their country and Nigeria is just absolutely corrupt? Because I don't understand how somebody will build his own kilometer. You will pay about 6 million per kilometer and Nigeria will pay about 24 million per kilometer. And we have not stoned that governor. And we have not asked them to leave. I don't think you understand. If you take out 10 million, I think you will take out 8 million twice from that money. $8 million. So let's say we bribe party A with $8 million, we bribe another party with $8 million, there'll still be change to construct the project. So how can you willingly take your people's future away like that? And that is the problem of Nigeria in a nutshell. We continue to suffer from, we are stagnant, we are not moving forward. And there's a lot of problem when one thing that annoys me, and Olu has just said it. In fact, Olu literally took my slides from me because everything he said was stuff I had written down. In terms of Nigeria, one thing that annoys me is that one of the biggest arguments for the One Nigeria people is that they tell you that we have a massive population, and as such, by the time our market is broken up, we will not be able to survive and this and that. So what I'll be doing is I'll just be giving you a cross-section of countries and their GDP. Let's start with Nigeria. You have to remember that, please. You already know your population, I won't tell you, but your GDP is 432 billion. South Africa has a GDP of 283 billion. They have a 58 million population. So in retrospect, if we're comparing their population as a function of their GDP, they have a much better GDP than us because they have if you look at their population to GDP. But that might be too strange. So let me give you another one. Ireland has a GDP of 390 billion. Ireland has a population of 5 million. Nigeria has a population of 200 million. We have a GDP of 432 billion. So it is 200 million too useless. I'd rather be in a country that has 5 million in population and 390 billion in GDP than to be in a country that has 200 million in population but has a 432 billion in GDP. Let's take it a step higher. Switzerland has 703 billion in GDP, has a population of 9 million, less than Lagos State. Less than Lagos State. Sweden has a population of 529 billion. Has a GDP of 529 billion and has a population of 10 million. That population is less than Kano. Less than Kano. So it's not about the volume of people, it's about the quality of the people. It's about the quality of your output, it's about government policy, it's about vision, it's about infrastructure. And that is clearly, so that tells me that you can be in a nation as small as 20 million and you can be productive. I don't know, if you had the chance to live in Sweden today, or you had a chance to live in Nigeria, somebody offered you both of them's passport, where will you go? Would you stay in Nigeria, or would you move to Sweden? Spain has a population of 47 million and has a GDP of 1.3 trillion. 47 million, less than the population of the South, and has a GDP that is 3 times the GDP of Nigeria. That tells me that if it was a northern Nigeria and southern Nigeria, even southern Nigeria can have a GDP that is 3 times better if they have the vision and the patience and industrialization, they follow a roadmap that works for all, that is based on meritocracy and not a quota system. New York has a population of 8.2 million. New York has a GDP. I'm using New York because it brings it even worse. New York has a GDP of 884 billion. So what am I trying to say in a nutshell? Population is useless without productivity. Everybody here will take every other state as their new country than Nigeria, simply because those countries are working. Nigeria is sleeping. Is driving on high speed on reverse. So at this stage, I know I have upset a lot of people because I'm basically telling you stuff you already know, but I'm bringing it a little bit closer to home. So this is the part of presentation where I'm going to take a break, and I'll let the questions to come in for a few minutes, so it can be a bit interactive, and we'll take questions from there. Thank you very much.